Short and stupid with WAPTech. If you notice that your channel handle that uses the @ symbol after youtube.com/ isn't loading, or someone else's isn't, it's not your browser, it's not your operating system, it's not your internet service provider, it's not a plugin, it's not a virus, it's just YouTube implementing something and not making sure that their web servers worked with it. Now, I could bring up escape sequences and a bunch of other stuff you might see in the comment sections or on some help forum, ironically named, where people are basically being Google and YouTube fanboys. But the fact is that if you're looking at this problem, which a lot of you might be, the reason it isn't working is because YouTube screwed up, and that's the end of it. You don't have any power over it, so just forget it. I'm recommending people not use the youtube.com/ symbol and then channel name link at all, because depending on where you're posting it, it will or will not work at all anyway. It's poorly thought out. There's an entire history with this I'll go into in a minute, but I'm going to repeat one more time. You don't have any control over it. It's not a plugin. It's not a virus. It's not something about your operating system, browser, or computer, or anything else causing it. It's just on their end. Now, I have the ability to test this independently by doing a virtual machine or just having a website do the same thing. None of that's relevant. The point is, that's what's causing it. Things you might be told. Maybe you have escape sequences or hidden characters or white space characters or some variation of it. If you're not aware of it, except for A through Z, upper and lowercase, and numbers, every other character could potentially be represented, and in some cases has to be represented, by some other way other than just typing it out on the screen. It may be obfuscated. It may be escape sequenced where it's like a string of numbers to represent it. Emojis are done this way. And that's where things get a little weird here. There's also variations on the @ symbol. And of course, the web server has to be able to handle them. There are escape sequences that create an @ symbol, which shouldn't be used. That's not what's going on here either. Again, I checked that. That's not what caused it. But you're going to see people talk about that. Well, did you disable ANSI character sequence, blah, 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 or some other? No, none of that's relevant. It's just a web server. But how does that work? Poorly. Depending on the browser you're using, if you'll grab the address bar right above this video, it'll cut and paste it as plain text or not. But you won't really know it, because many, many, many programs that do text will retain those escape sequences and stuff as hidden. It's a massive problem. It doesn't help that YouTube and Google started using literal carriage return on line feeds and cursor movements as embedded characters. That makes it to where sometimes you'll cut and paste something that looks this long, but it's got like 2 KB of crap in it. It's those sequences. It's like it's key logging whatever you did and putting it into the file or name or something. In order to strip this out, if you want to know about it for testing, you'd have to cut and paste whatever you typed that didn't work into a text file and tell it to save it with absolutely no features. Now, I'm saying no features specifically because that's not a term that's used for any text editor, but because that's really the only common name for it. It means it doesn't include any ASCII characters. There's no extended character set. It's not using UPM-75 or ISO standard blah, blah, blah character. It's not doing anything special. It's just plain text. Now, I want to point out a couple of things here. Over the years, YouTube and Google have tried to create unique naming formats for people, even though they started off having one that worked just fine and then broke it on purpose. For many years now, they've been trying to do this so that we could have short names. You know, like our handles, a real one. In the old days, they started off using the same thing. youtube.com/ and then your channel name would be used. It was that straightforward. Then they got the bright boy idea of making it to where they could make that a premium item and then try to make it to where something you had to earn and blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to bring up my favorite example. Someone setting up a YouTube channel and calling themselves Elon Musk and getting naming rights. They got to have the name first. Doesn't matter how rich and powerful you are, you can't change the name. Sound like Twitter right now? Yeah. Then Google and YouTube decided to do something called real naming policy right after they did Google+. People were setting up, because they were aggressively trying to get people to sign up and make you sign up. People would sign up with extra accounts, make hundreds of them with the same name. Because they noticed that if you made people use their real human name, lots of people have identical names. That was brilliant. And then that caused the impersonation scam that would happen in 2014, 2013 too. where people would have hundreds of channels with their same name, diverting people to those other channels with garbage on them. Yeah, good times. I was impersonated over 300 times. Specifically to try to damage my reputation and then get an email saying, I'll stop if you give me money, which of course I'm not going to get money because I'm too poor. But that gives you an idea of one of hundreds of screw-ups we can bring up about naming on YouTube and Google. And this is something that was figured out decades ago. And oddly enough, YouTube originally did it. If you signed up with a name, unless it was a recognized famous name, you could use it. If you wanted to be Elon Musk, you could be Elon Musk 47, just not Elon Musk. They would reserve names that were famous people at the time. That's fine. But that made it to where people like me would pick names like Waptech, or a lady who does music, name yourself Grimes. We would use unique handles because that's the norm on the internet, not everybody being John Smith and people being confused. Making a name for yourself apparently became triggering. So anyway, instead of just going back to the before time and just putting it back the way it was in the first place and not doing this anymore, now we have, you can have a channel name, you can have a vanity name, you can have a short name, you can have a hashtag name, you can have this thing, the handle. I've forgotten all the different ways they've done exactly the same thing over and over again instead of just telling everybody they have to pick a name and stick with it. And it can't be a human name. Just tell everybody don't use human names. This is the latest ituration of it. So anyway, I wasted your time and mine way too much. So I'm going to reiterate one more time. The reason it screwed up when you typed in youtube.com/@ and then the name is because on their end, they made up the standard and failed to support it by their own website. And this is the other thing. A lot of the stuff is only using the handle name, which means you can't find the channel anymore. And yes, this is screwing up everything else. If you make a playlist, it breaks the playlist. If you try to put a comment in, it might crash the browser for some reason because it keeps trying to do the loop-to-loop through the multiple layers of different naming standards. God help you if you try to PM people or tag them in a comment. Even though this was what was supposed to fix the problem, it made it worse. Again, in the before time, everybody had to have a unique name because the system wouldn't let you pick a name that had been picked before. It forced you to get creative. It's the reason Markiplier is a unique name, just like Grimes was a unique name at one time. Waptech was a unique name. Then they took that away. Because again, they said, well, you have to use your real human name. That means it won't be unique. It also is a violation of my privacy. It also didn't help that they wanted literally my ID card. And at one point, my credit card number. No, they really did do that, and they had to fess up to it in a court case. So this is the company that wants you to trust them with your ad money or trust them with your passwords. Because Google wants a copy of your passwords now too. That was cute. And of course, they're going to have the @ handle break. Yeah. Anyway, if you're having trouble getting to any video channels, it's because they're using the @ symbol instead. It's not helping. It's worthless. It was dumb, and it didn't provide a real link. And also, coincidental, they started to make it to where when you click things on the page, if you hover over something, you don't get an indication you're going to a real location. It's all obfuscated through the web server through JavaScript or some damn thing, meaning there aren't any real links anymore. Eventually, they might get to the point that nothing on the website changes on the address bar. It just says youtube.com, and it's all cookie-based. Cookie-based navigation is easily hacked, an incredibly huge security error, and that's what they're probably doing instead of the JavaScript hack. But, hey, it's okay. It's only a multi-billion-dollar company that can't get basic stuff right. Again, do you want to trust them with your passwords or your ad money? I wonder if this will get deranked or flagged for violating some policy that doesn't really exist again. By the way, I am after 7 days now. I'm able to upload. Currently, I'm sure that'll be changing soon. They'll have to fuck it up again. I'm sure YouTube won't come along and screw me over for criticizing them again. Again, it's not you, it's their web server. And no, it doesn't matter what operating system, browser, or whatever you're running. It's just their server. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck.